Hey, what's up guys? This is Forrest Hefner. Today I will be covering hypoxia. I'm sure you know all about hypoxia. You've been studying about it. You've taken check rides. I'm sure you've had to answer questions about it. Why we have altitude restrictions, blah, blah, blah. But hopefully you'll learn something in today's presentation. So what is hypoxia? In simplest terms, it's basically a lack of oxygen in your body. According to Skybrary, hypoxia is defined as a lack of oxygen in the body tissues. This can be caused either by a shortage of oxygen in the air being breathed or by a number of physiological, pathological issues affecting blood circulation or the quantity of oxygen carried by hemoglobin in the blood. Along with hypoxia, we have some symptoms. You have euphoria, headache, dizziness, breathlessness. These symptoms are very important to know because if you start experiencing these symptoms while at altitude, you should probably start descending to a lower altitude. That way you can prevent getting hypoxia. As you all know, there are 4 types of hypoxia: hypoxic, hypemic, stagnant, and hystoxic. The first one we want to talk about today is hypoxic hypoxia. This is one of the main reasons pilots are limited to 14,000 feet in an unpressurized cabin or without an adequate supply of oxygen. So this is why we have that FAR in place. Hypemic hypoxia. This is when our blood has a reduced capability of being able to transport that oxygen. Although there's an adequate supply of oxygen to breathe, the blood's capacity to carry the oxygen has been compromised. There are a variety of reasons why this could happen, such as pneumonia or carbon monoxide. This is a good example of why you should always check that your carbon monoxide detector is working and functioning properly. Because if carbon monoxide were to enter the cabin, you wouldn't even know it because it's colorless and odorless, and you could end up passing out and getting hypoxia. Stagnant hypoxia. If you're a fighter pilot or in a position of pulling high G maneuvers, per se pulling out of a spin perhaps, or who knows, maybe just pulling up too hard on the stick, you would most likely experience this type of hypoxia. This occurs because the blood starts to move to your lower extremities and your heart is unable to pump it back to your brain. So basically the blood is pooling down towards your lower extremities, and your heart is unable to keep up and push that blood back into your brain. Now we've got hystoxic hypoxia. According to the FAA, this type of hypoxia happens at the cellular level, meaning that the cells expecting and needing the oxygen is impaired and cannot use the oxygen to support metabolism. To the pilot, this means that even though there's an adequate supply of oxygen to breathe and that oxygen is being circulated by the blood, the cells are unable to accept that oxygen. Like I said, alcohol or even narcotics can be the primary factors of this hypoxia. Now that you know about the 4 stages or 4 types of hypoxia, let's get into the 4 stages of hypoxia. Basically, you have the indifferent stage, compensatory stage, disturbance stage, and critical stage. These stages are classified by altitude and decreased performance and physiological symptoms. So as you can see, from sea level to 10,000 feet, you'll experience a decrease in night vision. At the compensatory stage, you can experience drowsiness, poor judgment, impaired coordination, and impaired efficiency. Our 3rd stage is the disturbance stage and occurs from altitudes 15,000 feet to 20,000 feet. You can have impaired flight controls, inputs, impaired handwriting, speech, or impaired vision and decreased sensation to pain. Our 4th stage is the critical stage. This is where life-threatening events happen. If you were to drop below 60% oxygen, you could possibly have a fatality. So if you experience a loss of pressurization, you definitely want to descend quickly. Which brings me to this slide here. This slide's basically just telling you how long you have of useful consciousness. So at 45,000 feet, you have 9 to 15 seconds. This is why it's important in an airliner. This is why they tell you that you need to put your oxygen mask on before you help anybody else, because you only have a limited amount of time of consciousness, and you obviously can't help your passenger out if you're incapacitated as well. But the lower you go, the more time you have, essentially. And that concludes today's presentation. Hope you enjoyed. These are some of my references, and have a good one.